Today we're diving into the vibrant, high-speed world of Windblown, the latest roguelike from the creators of Dead Cells. This game mixes the tight action we know and love with some kind of new mechanics and an isometric perspective, and not to mention up to 3-player co-op. It's already making waves in early access, so is it worth your time? Or should you let the game just breeze by? And similarly to my other reviews, I'm going to break this down into a few key areas. Gameplay being one, the combat, the mechanics, how does it feel, the presentation, the art, the music, the story, the voice acting, and lastly, its kind of potential and an overall score. But before we get into that, let's give you a little bit of an overview. So first things first. Windblown brings you into kind of a beautifully crafted world where you play as a leaper, a creature that you're going to play as throughout the game, but you can chop and change what creature you are. For my run, I think initially I selected the axolotl, but I ended up playing as the basilisk for the most part. The additional choices though, you've got the axolotl, the basilisk, the bat, the intern, the pangolin, and the guinea pig. There is another, but you need to unlock that by finishing a run, and I don't want to spoil that for anyone. Worth saying as well, some of those are locked behind early access or playing it before a certain date. So if you do want them all, you might be too late, I'm afraid. Like I said, you can eventually change these as you go, so you can just chop and change who you are during your runs. Your mission? To protect a floating village called the Ark from the sinister Sentinels, all while collecting memories from fallen enemies in order to power your journey. The game masterfully blends your character's progression with dynamic combat and a fast-paced gameplay loop that's really difficult to put down. If Dead Cells was Motion Twin's breakout album, then Windblown feels like its ambitious sequel. Similar DNA, but with plenty of fresh ideas to explore. So let's start off with gameplay. So the combat in Windblown is both accessible and kind of deeply rewarding. It leans heavily on speed and haste, with dashing serving as a cornerstone of both movement and attacks. The responsiveness and the agility and the sheer pace in which you can play this game is what immediately sets it apart, particularly in co-op. You can pull off fluid combos by linking melee and ranged attacks and the flashy alter attacks, which feel incredibly satisfying. If you've played Skull the Hero Slayer, where you swap your skulls and therefore your attacks, the alter attacks are very similar. When switching weapons, you trigger a special attack. So when you change from your primary to secondary or secondary to primary, you get a unique attack, and chaining those together creates a beautiful flow in the combinations you can work with, as well as later on having a kind of a killing blow move where once an enemy gets to a certain level of health, you can hit a button to immediately kill them. The co-op element is new territory for Motion Twin, and though I played solo for most of my time, I did also matchmake into several multiplayer games. The potential for chaotic fun with friends is really clear, and even better, there's no loading between biomes, allowing you to zip between stunning kind of floating islands seamlessly. Motion Twin has outdone themselves with how smooth and responsive it all feels. The multiplayer is fairly well thought out, giving players the ability to run ahead, but gating them by any fork in the road where a choice or a decision needs to be made. You each individually get to decide on what decision you want to make, and as a collective it will go forward based on where the votes lie. Roguelike fans will appreciate Windblown's gift and trinket system, which replaces the utility items from Dead Cells. These provide kind of exciting in-run boosts, from stat upgrades to summoning homing arrows. Plus the home hub, the Ark, offers meaningful permanent upgrades to keep you chasing that perfect run dream. It's worth saying as well, they've put some real thought into how you can mix your builds and some of the items you come across. One of the little known facts is when you come across, say, an apple which is used to heal, if you set it on fire, it becomes a cooked apple and it heals you more. There's many of these little, let's call them Easter eggs, or slight variations that will help you get that little bit further with a bit of knowledge. Check them out because there's a huge amount of them. Something I really desired and felt was maybe a little bit lackluster was the level of customization in the builds. You can only equip 3 trinkets or gifts to kind of augment your build. However, this is kind of similar to Dead Cells. You only get a certain amount of items in order to augment. I just think it needs more choices to spice up. Maybe I'm comparing to, you know, other games, other roguelike games like Binding of Isaac, where you can get item upon item upon item to augment your build. I felt like the variety was a little short, but I feel that is very much because it's in early access. I'm sure they're going to add more augmentations or trinkets and gifts to augment your run in due course, and more weapons, of course. Gameplay wise though, to sum it up, this game is chaotic, combo building, hack and slash fun at warp speed, and it is a joy to play with how responsive it feels. So, onto presentation. Visually, Windblown is a treat. The isometric perspective and vivid art style create atmosphere that's distinct from Dead Cells. It doesn't feel like Dead Cells at all. You wouldn't really know that it was made by the same people. Each biome is a spectacle, from ethereal floating forest to bustling skylands. The sound design deserves special mention too. The first biome features soothing, kind of lo-fi beats, while later levels transition into pulse-pounding electronic tracks that perfectly match the escalating intensity. However, it's not just the visuals and audio that shine through. The game's dry humour is unmistakably motion twin, adding charm and personality to your runs in the dialogue that you get. One thing to note here when it comes to presentation though, is the intro to the game. All I can say is, wow. It's like an anime series intro. It's over the top, the music is fantastic, and all the emotion can be seen in the characters. It honestly looks and sounds incredible. But if you've never played this game and you see that intro, the game is not what you think. It doesn't feel like the intro in any way, shape or form. I am praying this will lead to some awesome cutscenes, and fingers crossed we'll be able to see more of this style of cinematic, let's say. So please check out the intro, it's fantastic. Now let's talk about the game's potential and the challenges it's going to come across. While Windblown is brimming with potential, there's still room to grow. Current builds include only 2 biomes out of the planned 5, and enemy variety is somewhat limited. A bit of polish on the UI and better single player options, like a pause feature, would also elevate the experience. Don't get me wrong, I understand that this is meant for co-op and multi, but those people that just want to play it by themselves because it's a fantastic game solo, give them a pause button. These critiques, however, feel minor compared to the game's addictive loops and solid core mechanics. Motion Twin has proven they're listening to feedback already. Improvements from their closed alpha already show through, such as a more refined ultra attacks and varied enemy encounters. It's exciting to imagine where this game could go in the months ahead. I hope for more variety in the trinkets and the weapons, and bring cutscenes, please. So, let's talk about the conclusion. What's my verdict? Windblown captures the hearts of what makes a roguelike addictive. Tight gameplay, meaningful progression, and constant sense of discovery. The introduction of co-op, the shift to isometric play, and its striking style all make it feel fresh while staying true to its roots. It's early days for Windblown, but if you're a fan of Dead Cells or Hades or fast-paced action games in general, this is one to watch, and perhaps even jump into right now if you're that interested. I will say the price is steep. It's £22 right now, with the current amount of content that I think is only going to give you 10-15 hours depending on how much you want to perfect and, let's be honest, your ability. I think my advice is either hold on until it's on offer, or hold on that little bit longer until they add a few updates. They're bringing them out fairly regularly already. There's been a lot of patches for quick fixes and bugs and things like that. I think when there are maybe, 3 biomes, a few more items, I can see it being worth it. I compare it to Hades 2. Hades 2 is in early access, right? But there is way more game. in Hades 2 than there is in this. And that is not to say I'm not enjoying what there is here. I can see this being an absolute gem when it's released. Personally, I can't wait to see what the full game release brings. Until then, I'll be perfecting my runs. But look, it's time to give it that verdict. I always give these games a rating out of 5 stars. Right now, I'm only going to give Windblown a 3 out of 5. I think potential-wise, it's a 5 out of 5. But right now, compared to other games that I've reviewed in Raven's Watch or Thronefall or Emberward, I can't rate it as highly. Yes, I enjoy it. I love the fact that it's got the co-op, but there just needs to be more at this point. The polish is great, but again, it just needs more. But please, tell me what you think about Windblown. Have you tried it yet? Have you played it with friends? How have you found the co-op? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, please. And don't forget to give it a like and subscribe and turn on those notifications. I want to get to that 1,000 subscribers mark sometime next year, so really appreciate anything that can be done and all the support. More reviews to come, and I will get a tips video out for Windblown also. Such as that apple trick, I'll give you a few little extras. Quick note also, if you want some people to play Windblown with, I will happily join. Check out the Discord below. We've got over 100 people in there now who enjoy roguelikes and getting involved with other games and streamers. Please come get involved. I appreciate you all being here. Thanks for watching. Next video will hopefully be the tips. Giving positivity, as always, JammyGiraffe.